Okay. What? Okay. Thank you for returning. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. That was good. Okay. Um, let's just make sure that we're using with the settings here. Hello, ladies. Where are we? Visibility. You guys buying a house?
I'm looking to get one for myself first, and for obviously the future.
Okay. Ready to start? Okay, ready? Let me close this. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol yeh b'dvaro. Ready to start, my friends? Right there. That's right. Okay. So we didn't finish the second chapter last week because there's so much to talk about. So we're going to slightly format tonight. We're going to start by talking about blood. Okay? Blood. It's going to get bloody, my friends. Stay tuned. So what we had been talking about last week was all of the requirements, not only to have a kosher animal, meaning it's a cow or a goat that chews its cud and has split hooves, but also it needs to be, what does the word kosher mean? What does the word kosher mean? Prepared. Very good. Very good. Prepared. It has to be prepared, which means that it has to be number one, it has to be slaughtered according to Jewish law. And we discussed the different variations of how the shechita, the different kinds of a shochet. I'll take it to you if you want. Thank you. Different kinds of a shochet. Hello, Marsha. You made it in the wet? You made it. It was raining so bad, I could not believe. Yeah, but now we're here. So you need to have a shochet and we have to do different kinds of Chabad, shechita, OU, etc. Okay, after the shechting, the shechita, what else needs to happen? Very good. You got to make sure it's glatt. Glatt means that the lungs are smooth, that the animal is not a treifa. Treifa would mean that it is, thank you, Michelle, appreciate that. Treifa would mean that it is, that literally a treifa is, it is not, you're right that it's not kosher, that's not what the word means. What does the word treifa mean? I know we learned last week, we're doing a quick review. She's got her notes. Let's see what Lindsay has written down. Who remembers? If you're watching on YouTube, you can also chat. Those of you who were paying attention last week. Physical defects, pretty close. It has a physical defect that would make it die. It's a what? Correct. So if in the biblical example, it had been mauled to death by, or had been bitten or attacked by an animal. So even though you did a shechita, it wasn't dead. Because if it's dead, it's not shechted. So you shechted it before it died. But since it was on the verge of death, that's not kosher. That's treifa. That's literally the word treifa means, that it's torn apart or it has some defect inside it that will make it die soon. So that's why we check that it's a healthy animal and that the lungs are smooth, etc. After we shechted it and we check the insides to make sure it's glatt, what's the next thing? Let me get that. Okay, very good. We need to remove all the forbidden fats. Any part of the animal, she's paying attention, that has to be used in an offering that includes the fats of the certain fats of the animal, the kidneys and the stomach, and to remove the sciatic nerve, which is why today you cannot buy kosher filet mignon, because the whole hind quarter of the animal is too much work to remove everything. It's a lot of work. And the labor involved in having a specially trained rabbi remove all of that nerve from within the flesh and all that is not worth it. Nope. Nope. In Israel, there's a restaurant that does it, but not in America. There's no one selling it. Although someone said last week that someone in Miami is selling it actually. $95 a pound. And that's why you don't find it in the stores, because even the stores, and they have to mark up the $95 a pound times. Yeah. You know how much after Aroma or the Grove marked up the $95 a pound, you know where to be holding. So, what? Yeah. It's almost, so that's why you can't really find filet mignon. Typically in your regular, theoretically it's possible to get kosher filet mignon, but typically you're not going to find it in your average restaurant or in your average supermarket. But then even after you remove the forbidden fats, what else needs to happen?
Salting.
Then you need to do the salting. You need to remove the blood within the animal, because the Torah tells us that blood it's forbidden. Why? Because it's the soul, it's the life force, very good, of the animal. Ki hadam hu nefesh. The dam is the soul. The blood it's the soul of the animal. And therefore, because the life of the animal is within the soul, is within the blood, you cannot use that for your own personal benefit. And so that's where we ended with the melicha, the salting of the animal. And now, if you're in the book, I'm going to be on page 37, and I'm going to introduce you to a new concept, which is going to have many, many, many applications in the laws of kosher, not just regarding the salting or the preparing of a cow to be edible, but in this context, we're going to use it here regarding the blood. But remember this for many, many instances. And this is something called maris ayin. Maris ayin means the appearance to the eye, the way things look, Because in Judaism, of course, the law is important and the technical, details are important, but the way things look is almost as important. And if your behavior, even though it's technically within the law, but it would appear like you did something that's not okay, then it's forbidden. So just like a modern day, a very typical example, some people say you're not allowed to go into a non-kosher restaurant to use the bathroom. Why? There's no sin to use the toilet in 2Js or whatever, but it looks like you're going to eat in there. They'll see this religious person walking with a kippah on his head, or dressed, modestly, and say, "Oh, look, a religious person's eating in 2Js. I guess that you can eat there." So to avoid that appearance of that you can eat from 2Js or any of the popular restaurants, I don't know, Wings Plus, whatever it is, we don't even have whatever is popular here. We don't even go to the restroom. Again, if you have no choice, we don't go there. So in the context of salting and preparing an animal for consumption, this has a huge ramification regarding blood that is not the blood of the kosher animal. So obviously the blood of the animal is forbidden to eat. The Torah says black and white, that the blood is a soul, you can eat it. But what about other bloods? What about the blood of fish, which is not forbidden? So you're saying it's okay. We started talking about this where we ended off. So if you look at the comment 16, it is rabbinically forbidden to consume fish blood collected in a vessel. Even though fish blood is allowed, you have no mitzvah shchita or removing the blood of fish. But because of maris ayin, because of the concern that a person will see you eating or drinking blood, even though it's the blood of a fish and not the blood of a cow, because of that concern of how it will look, we don't drink the blood of the fish as well. And the same thing would be with human blood. 1 second, I'll take a question on human blood. It's also rabbinically prohibited on account of maris ayin. Therefore, if one bites into a piece of food and finds some blood on it, they must remove the blood before continuing to eat. So even though it's your blood, the blood you bit a sandwich, I don't know, and you were bleeding, your gums were bleeding, and now there's blood on the bread. Even though it's your blood, you can't eat that piece of bread that has your blood on it. You'd have to take off the blood or take off that little piece of bread that has blood on it, and then you can continue eating. However, if the blood is still in your body, it's okay to swallow. So if your gums are bleeding, you floss too hard, and now your gums are bleeding, it's okay to swallow because there's no maris ayin. No one sees blood going out of your gums into your throat. But if the blood's on the bread and you keep on eating it, someone see that was a bloody piece of bread he just put in. Oh, Jews are eating Christian blood in their matzah. No, I'm just joking. But they started saying it again today. Okay. But one more thing, not the questions. If the fish or the human blood was mixed into the dish where you cannot see it. So let's say not a piece of bread where the blood is very visible on the bread. Let's say you're eating a piece of meat, a piece of steak, right? Where no one will see the blood. Not eating with your teeth, but like let's pretend, okay? You're eating a fruit roll-up, right? No one will see because the red mixes into the fruit roll-up or to the meat or whatever. So in that case, since it gets absorbed, the blood is absorbed, then there's no problem. Okay, Marsha and then Shlomo, she was first. Yeah.
So, fish has red blood in it?
Blue blood? Has blood. Why shouldn't fish have blood? They have veins. And
I don't know. I mean, I used to go fishing as a kid, and I don't remember cleaning a fish and blood coming out.
there's probably liquid. I'm not an expert, but there is. Michelle says there is.
Because he was a boat, something they were all fishing, and they pulled big fish, and they,
I've seen those big fish.
Yeah. There's a little fish. There is blood. It's a little buff fish. So it's little blood.
Oh, that's the reason. That's little fish.
Yeah, and the odds of it's just a little bit. When you're used to it. Okay, yeah. What's your question?
Isn't it true in halakha when a fish comes out of water, it's like immediately dead, correct?
It's not immediately dead. You don't have to shecht it. You don't. Yeah.
Dead, right? So is that also like another reason as to why fish blood is not treif?
No, it's just not treif because the Torah didn't say it's treif. It's only something the Torah says is not kosher, not kosher. The Torah didn't say it, then it's kosher. Yes, ma'am. So that you can't do that. If there's blood on your finger, you cut yourself. Just cut yourself. Now you're going to go put that into your mouth, even though biblically there's no sin. Biblically, the blood of your finger is not considered eating blood because the prohibition of the Torah is only the blood of the animal. But because someone might think that you're eating blood, it looks like you're eating blood. That's the rabbinic prohibition of maras ayin, of appearances that look wrong, and therefore you cannot put your finger with blood on it into your mouth. Yeah. Maras ayin is not about if someone's actually seeing you. It's about when you make a rule in Torah, in general, in Jewish law, there has to be clear black and white lines. If someone's there, one thing. If someone's not there, what if someone was there? What if someone walked in the middle? It's no. Putting blood into your mouth is forbidden. Yeah, but I've seen many people. You cut your finger. Marsha's a germaphobe. Marsha would have put her finger to her mouth anytime. But like the rest of us that actually use our fingers, who would eat with our fingers and. Oh, you're back to okay, mazel tov. Yeah. Okay. Now this conversation, and this is why I didn't get to this last week because I know now I'm going to blow some brains away over here, and we're going to talk about checking for blood spots in eggs. Okay. Now you know how to check for blood spots in eggs, and any good Jewish balabusta, you know what a balabusta is? Balabusta, yeah. They say that in Israel also, balabusta in Israel. That's the same word. Okay. Because the Yiddish word, but okay. Came Hebrew too. So anyway, every Jewish housewife will tell you that when you crack an egg, you got to check both sides. You pour the egg, you crack it. I've never mastered the skill. That's why I stay away from the kitchen. If I do it, somehow eggshells end up. I don't know. But there's a technique. But yeah, that's one of the many reasons why I just avoid the kitchen. Not just because of blood shell, not because of eggshell, but somehow eggshells always end up there. So the Torah says, what you do is you crack the egg, right? Put it to one side, so you can see this side, but there's no that side. Or you can put it into like a clear cup. Much easier. It's much less messy. You just dump the. Oh, my wife will use. Yeah. No, my wife will use those. You do a clear plastic cup also, whatever. What? What? Yeah, plastic cups is great. You can see in there. Oh, so it's very interesting. So almost in yeshiva, because you guys would check the eggs yourself.
Yeah, we check the eggs ourselves. Yeah, so like you crack it in, and our yeshiva goes to find an egg of blood.
I actually asked. Okay, I'll tell you about the Orbi in a minute.
Go buy organic eggs.
Ah, correct.
Yeah,
what did Chana say?
2 seconds. I'm like, what is the knew
It's-
exactly what it was. She's like, you buy organic eggs.
Correct.
When I buy organic eggs with a dozen eggs, at least 4 have blood spots.
Okay, so I am going.
And if you take the blood spots out of the white, you told us this before, you can't take them out of the yolk. So I'm telling you, I throw away. If Steve knew how many eggs I throw away, he would be.
So maybe you should stop buying organic eggs. Seriously, you're going to see. I'm going to talk about it right now. We're going to talk about it now, checking the eggs. I'm going to maybe blow you. It's not so, I don't say it's not important. It's important to check eggs. That's the way Jewish people do it. But really, logically, it's not so important. And let me explain to you why. It's important. I know what I'm about. That's why it's important because this is the custom of Jewish people. And my wife checks the eggs, and that's part of. But if you think about it, the likelihood of finding real blood in the egg today, not including organic eggs, but the eggs that come from Publix, Walmart, whatever, that are coming through these mass egg hatching factories where they're producing, I don't know, 100,000 eggs a day, 1 million eggs a day, whatever they're producing, where the eggs are not being given a chance to fertilize because they're going straight from being hatched or whatever, not hatched, whatever, laid. They immediately go down to shoots and they go to be sold. The eggs are not sitting and being fertilized. In addition, today they have a process called candling. Candling is that as the eggs go through a conveyor belt, there's actually like a strong light that shines onto the egg, strong enough to go through the shell, and the machine will see if there's any blood spots in there. So the machine removes if there's anything in the egg, they remove it. Quality control. And you're able to see through it. Okay, so Shlomo said you can see he's done it in the yeshiva. They're able to see through the flash, through the eggshell. It's not so. What you're getting in Walmart or Publix, 99.99% of the time is not going to have anything in it, and even what it does have in it is most likely not a blood spot because the egg wasn't given a chance to fertilize. So you're seeing is like a pop nerve or something. Organic eggs are different because organic eggs, they do fertilize and they don't, they're natural, which is why you have such a higher rate. Marcia says, those that are not able to hear, 4 out of every dozen eggs have a blood spot. That's a crazy, I wouldn't buy organic eggs. Yeah.
And I get on the street and I crack like 4 eggs. I'm like, you have no idea how excited it is.
That's really crazy though. I think you should go back to regular eggs. The organic eggs are much more expensive. Okay, so let's clarify, ladies. Let's clarify a few things about eggs. First of all, in order for an egg to be kosher, it has to be the egg of a kosher bird, right? Ostrich eggs are not kosher because ostriches are not kosher. It has to be the egg of a kosher bird. Chicken, it could be turkey, it could be geese, quail eggs. Are those healthy? They're good for you? Quail eggs are good for you?
If you boil them, some people just eat it like that.
Okay. Some people eat raw eggs too.
My daughter-in-law, well, her father from Ukraine started this habit, and they take a raw quail egg and put it in Mark's plant-based milk, chocolate milk. that he
Okay.
drinks.
And he drinks the quail egg in the chocolate milk.
Yes, and he has no idea. And he wasn't eating, and he still doesn't eat protein, and it really bumped him up.
Wow. I'm going to tell Chana this idea for Shaya. Tell Chana. Yeah.
It's the origin plant-based OU.
Quail. No, not the chocolate milk. No, they put in sneaking the quail egg into the.
And they're
But my Shaya will discover it. He'll taste the difference. He's very.
Mark, if Mark doesn't, well, this one has so much sugar, and I never
Right.
tasted it, actually, but-
Okay. Now, ideally, one should check raw eggs individually for blood spots before adding them to dish. Nevertheless, if an egg was added without being checked, it is still kosher. So my job here is not to maintain whatever you've been doing. My job is to teach you the reality. Again, in my house, we check for egg spots, for blood spots too. But b'diavad, which means if someone didn't check the eggs, it's still kosher. Because we can assume that there's no egg spots. What? Yeah. Yeah, and that's fine. It's okay. Because the quote unquote, the likelihood of a blood spot is very, very, very minuscule. And even if there would be a blood spot, it's not really a blood spot because its egg was not a fertilized egg. So it'll be okay. Now, what happens if you do find a blood spot in the egg? So obviously, we throw it away. Because why should we get into problems? You see the egg, but you know why we're throwing it away? Because of Maris Ayin. We're not throwing it away because it's a biblical violation of the prohibition of blood. Blood is only forbidden if it's from the meat of an animal. The blood, let's say it's an organic egg. So let's say there's real blood spots, not even a fertilized egg. So it's a real legitimate blood spot. But the blood of non-meat, the blood of fish, the blood of a human, and the blood of an egg is not biblically forbidden. The whole prohibition to begin with is only a rabbinical prohibition of Maris Ayin, which is why there's a lot more room to be lenient. So if the blood spot was the biblical prohibition of blood, it will make no difference how likely or unlikely it is for there to be a blood spot in there, because even though 1% chance, we're not going to play around with a 1% chance of a what we call it Issur D'Oraisa, biblical prohibition. But this is why it's important to know what's biblical and what's rabbinic, because even though we don't violate any rabbinic laws, but after the fact, if the woman by the chalabik didn't check the eggs, it's still kosher, because to begin with, we're talking about a rabbinic prohibition, and the fact that the likelihood of a blood spot is extremely, extremely minute, etc., because the eggs are candled and all that. We do it because that's what our bubbies did. Our bubbies did it long before they had these factories. They checked their eggs. The eggs came from a real chicken. I mean, it's still real chicken, but but that's where it ends. Like it was like real chicken sitting in their barn. So you don't know how long the egg was sitting under the rooster and was being fertilized. That was real, so they had to check it. So we've kind of kept that custom of what our mothers did because their mothers did it. Because their mothers did it. Today it's not like yes.
Yeah, but so what you're saying is you're saying no, it's okay. So even if it's okay. So my question is, if now somebody does the test, needs to do the test, and you ask, okay, is it allowed to have blood in the egg? So is it yes or no? So maritime and all that is a no.
So if Shlomo goes to the base and say you're allowed to have, and this would be a really good trick question.
Yeah.
And it depends. Very good. The answer would be you need to check to make sure, because of Maris Ayin, if you tell the rabbis it's Maris Ayin, it's not an Issur D'Oraisa, they would be impressed that you know that. I'm sure. In all my meetings, I never heard master, but I'm saying that would be like you would blow them away that you know the difference. Because it's a, and the answer really is, the correct answer is that once it fell in, you have to remove it. Let's say, okay, you see the egg has a spike thing. What happens if you didn't check, you put it in there, you see the egg inside? So what do you need to do? No, you just need to take out the blood spots. You just need to take out the part that has the blood in it. That's if it's in the yolk. If it's in the yolk, it's probably different. But in the then you take out, and by the way, if the yolk spread, Marsha, then take out whatever it touched. So you take out that. You have a big bowl of challah, right? You're making flour, and one scoop out that whole section. Take out whatever may have gotten touched or contaminated by that blood spot. Right. It's like if you put too much salt in in your flour, right? Just scoop out the salt. Same thing. Just scoop it out. And by the way, what happens if it? Just checking blood.
Checking the eggs saved Jews' lives.
Saying with the blood libel back then.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, we still do it. I want to be clear. My wife still checks the eggs because that's what her mother did. Because that's what her mother did. But I'm also telling you the halacha. The halacha is you don't need to panic. If someone cracked an egg into their dish and there's a blood spot that fell into their pot, just take out what has the blood in it, and that's all you need to do. That's all you need to do. And guess what? If it got mixed in and you can't see it anymore, and it's not visible anymore, there's no Maris Ayin, it's okay. Not only that, if you cooked food with this mixture, let's say someone cooked without checking the eggs. So theoretically, if someone cooked blood in a pot, what would happen to the pot? Probably treif, probably not kosher. But here the pot is kosher. Because the whole prohibition was only because Maris Ayin. It wasn't the biblical prohibition to begin with. And this is a beautiful example of understanding where there's a huge, when you have to know if something is a biblical prohibition or rabbinic, even though they're both forbidden, and we don't need it regardless. But knowing the difference would differentiate. Now that the blood got into the pot and it was cooked, is the pot kosher, or if it would be the blood of a cow that got into the pot, even one drop of blood, the pot's not kosher. If you cook biblical prohibition, it's not kosher. But if it's the blood of a blood spot of an egg, it's rabbinic because of maris ayin, and that's why you can be lenient, and that's why you don't need to kasher the pot, etc. Yes.
So when I was at 7, we were taught that.
When you were what?
When I was at seminary.
Okay, yeah.
You have to take, just put like an aluminum container and cook at least 3 eggs in the aluminum container. So that's all Baba Maisis?
No, not Baba Maisis. And mine will do the same thing. Ravid's question is, and this is actually the custom in many, many, many Jewish homes, including in my home, that when you cook, by this proves the point, when you cook hard-boiled eggs, did you check the hard-boiled eggs? You thought about this all the time, Marsha. That's why you come to this class, so I can help you sleep better tonight. When you cook eggs, theoretically, you shouldn't be allowed to cook hard-boiled eggs without checking them first for blood spots. And if the concern of blood in the egg, in the chicken, it's in the chicken. If the concern of the blood in the egg was a biblical prohibition, you would not be allowed to take eggs without checking them and putting them into your pot. You can't do that. But since it's rabbinic, you don't have to worry about it. However, there became a custom that just in case there is a blood spot, we want it to be batal b'roiv, meaning that there should be an odd number. So if however it is, there will always be at least one more. So let's say if you only cook 2 eggs and one has a blood spot and one doesn't. Now you open it up after the fact and you see you cooked a mixture with blood in it. So you have 1 and 1. It's not nullified because it's not a majority of kosher eggs versus a non-kosher egg. So that's why you put in an odd number. Put in 3. So even if one had a blood spot, the other 2 override it. So therefore it can be batal b'roiv and therefore it can be kosher. Understand? Batal b'roiv. We're going to get to the laws of bittul and nullification in a different class. So you know what? I said it. I answered your question. Let's leave it alone because we're not up to those laws yet. So let's go in order. You might see a dark spot, but again, today you probably should have just cut off that part. But today, don't eat the egg. You don't have to eat the egg. But again, today's regular manufactured eggs are not fertilized eggs, and they're okay, but they're not fertilized. They're not fertilized. So again, if you see the blood spot, if you see the cooked Marsha, if you see the cooked blood spot, you can't eat it because you can't eat something that you know has blood in it. So you cut off that part. Don't eat. Throw away that egg. Just throw away that egg. But let's say they mix the egg into egg salad, potato salad.
It's okay, save it for me. I love it.
I don't eat anything that I see in egg.
Oh, I love it.
Brownies. I don't know. Yeah.
I have a problem with it.
Chicken liver.
I don't eat liver.
Yeah. What about liver? Yeah.
They're soft, you know,
And they have blood in it. You got to roast the blood out. Yeah, a lot.
How did we know this?
Okay, we're not getting to liver right now, but in short, liver, you can't salt liver. You have to roast it. When you roast it, the blood drains out of the liver. If you roast it properly, yes. Yeah. You have to know how to do it right. There's a process. We're going to get to it.
My grandma does it. My dad does it.
I want to just, yeah, you can make liver, but we're not talking about liver yet. But yes, liver has to be drained. You have to drain the blood out. It's okay. We're not in a rush. Meaning, if it takes us 30 weeks to do it, it'll take us 30 weeks. I'm not like, we didn't because we ran out of time last week. I didn't not do the blood spots in the egg. Oh, we'll do it this week and we'll do next week. We're not in a rush. We're not in a rush. We can't get too distracted. Also, Okay. Let me just clarify, Marsha, for your benefit. All this is talking about non-fertilized eggs. If it's an organic egg, which is fertile or could be fertilized, or like a real egg, you went to a farm and you saw a chicken sitting on the egg and took the egg, then we have to assume that maybe it's a real blood spot. And then if it got into the pot, then we have to say that it's forbidden because it's a real rabbinic prohibition. What I'm talking about is where you don't know, where there's a suffix. No one checked the egg, right? In that case, you have 2 things to rely on. It's a doubt if there even was an egg, and if it's fertilized or not. And since it's only rabbinic prohibition, two doubts, we're lenient to say you don't have to worry about it. Okay? If you have fertilized egg, then you would have to check into it a little bit more. Okay. Now, really, we should do a review, yeah? But maybe we'll do it after the class. Now, right now on page 40, you can do it for yourself. If you really want, after the class, fill out 42, page 42, and I'll check it and I'll see if it's right or wrong. Should we do it now? Okay, what makes meat glad kosher? Yes. Okay. Which of the following is true of the prohibition? Well, let's do it after the class because they'll be watching the recording. Won't. Okay. Now let's go to what's here as chapter 3, the prohibition of mixing meat and milk.
Can I ask one more
Sure.
question?
Yes, ma'am.
So in the Philippines, they have this egg, it's called balut,
Oh, Tony.
which is a duck, fertilized duck egg.
A fertilized duck egg,
There's
okay.
a baby duck in there, and they eat it. So is that considered an egg, or is that considered a duck?
I've never heard of this before. A fertilized duck egg that has an actual duck inside, and you cook it before the duck is hatched, and then you eat the whole duck inside. I don't think that could be kosher. I'm not sure how that could. Then there's real blood. Yeah. I've never heard of that in my life, so I don't.
Well, what is it considered, egg, is it considered duck?
What? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, guys, fill that out. I'll check it after. I'll see if you guys got the right answers. Now I'm going to go to page 49. The next term, which we're going to talk about, is basar b'chalav. What's basar b'chalav? Dr. Sarah. Basar b'chalav, meat and milk. Meat and milk. Okay. Now this is going to be one of the most difficult topics. It's been 3 chapters. It'll take us at least 3 weeks probably to go through this. So let's first today understand what exactly is the biblical prohibition of meat and milk. What is the rabbinic prohibition of meat and milk? And as I just finished explaining to you, partly for this reason, even though you cannot eat not a biblical mixture of meat and milk and not a rabbinic mixture of meat and milk, there are times when knowing the difference will have halachic implications in certain cases. Okay, we're going to find out the difference if it's chicken soup, if it's meat soup. Okay, let's see. Let's go from the beginning. The source is in the Torah. Turn to page 50. The Torah tells us not once, not twice, but 3 times that you have to bring the choices of your fruits to Hashem. And then the verse says, Lo seva shel gdi b'chalev imo. Randy, you need a book? I have it in my office. Yeah. Lo seva shel gdi b'chalev imo. Not to cook a gdi literally means a kid, which is sometimes translated as a kid goat, but it's not a kid goat. It's any young animal. When it talks about a goat, it says gdi izim. The Torah specifies specifically a goat. So the word gdi means a young, could be a young calf, a young goat, a young cow. What? Not goat. Baby animal. It could be a calf. In Hebrew, in proper Hebrew, a baby goat, a Hebrew goat is gdi izim. And it's actually in the Torah where you find the verse gdi izim. Joseph, they thought of the tunic, gdi izim. When it just says the word gdi, that's an open-ended, it means any, so a baby calf, a baby sheep, what is it, a lamb, a baby goat, a kid goat, are all included in the Hebrew word gdi. That's biblical. That's not rabbinic, so that's biblical. So not to cook a baby kid or a baby lamb or a baby calf in the milk of its mother. That's the prohibition. And this is written 3 times. So the rabbis tell us, I'm not going to read all this inside, but basically that according to the Torah, the prohibition of mixing meat and milk has to be a behema. Behema means a domesticated animal. It cannot be a chaya. A chaya is a wild, undomesticated animal, which could be kosher. Like, for example, a deer. A deer is a kosher animal. A gazelle or a giraffe is a kosher animal, but they're not domesticated. They're not behemas. They're chayas. So it has to be a behema, not a chaya. And it has to be kosher. And the fact that it says that you can't cook it in the milk of its mother, meaning it has to specifically be something which is a kosher, domesticated animal that gives forth milk. Therefore, if you are cooking by biblical law, milk and pork is not a kosher animal. And therefore, biblically, that would not be included in the prohibition of cooking meat and milk. Same thing would be if you're cooking milk and, well, okay, we'll go to chicken. I was going to another example for but milk and chicken. Chicken is not a domesticated behemoth. It's an oaf. It's a bird. And biblically, chicken, even though fowl is by most people considered meat, just like gazelle meat or bison is considered meat, but it's not a behemoth, it wouldn't be biblically in the prohibition. And the same thing would be if you were eating milk or cooking milk in the meat of deer meat. Deer meat biblically could be cooked with milk. Only domesticated animal like lamb, sheep, goats, cows, etc., that have milk, those you cannot cook with milk.
It can be cooked, but it can't be eaten.
No, it can't be cooked either. It can't be cooked, it can't be eaten, it can't have pleasure.
It's high up and it's cooked with
So let's 1 second. Let's go slowly. Now, in addition, so that's the second paragraph. Similarly, the Torah does not forbid the meat of a wild beast. Can we just say the meat of a wild beast and the meat of fowl together? Okay. However, the sages said that you cannot you cannot cook milk with chicken, or milk with pork, or milk with deer, even though none of those three animals are included in the category of meat and milk. Why? Because Marasayan. If you're going to allow someone to cook chicken and milk, how are they going to know if this particular burger you're cooking is a meat burger or it's a chicken burger? Right? They're not going to know. And they're going to think this Maradayan has a lot of implications. I told you.
It's like the joke you told us with the guy eating the chicken farm in the restaurant. The rabbi was
We're watching the supervision. Yeah. So if you let someone eat chicken and milk together, they're going to be cooking chicken, pargiot, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Is it some Chinese food you can mix milk? Chinese meat and vegetable, you stir fry, you can. But stir fry with chicken, you could have milk in the, people are going to start thinking that you're allowed to eat. The prohibition of gedi is only the gediizim, only of a goat, and that you're allowed to eat cow meat with milk, etc. So therefore, the rabbi said that you're not allowed to cook any of these other categories of meat. 3 categories: fowl, which is birds, non-domesticated animals, and non-kosher animals. You also cannot cook with milk. Okay.
But a lot of people chicken is part, right?
Biblically.
So
However,
are you saying-
rabbinically, chicken is fleishix.
So are you saying that deer is also biblically part?
Yes. Correct. It's a shocker to you. But that's why, biblically, rabbinically, deer is 100% meat, and you cannot cook meat of a deer with milk. But that's not included in the biblical prohibition of not cooking a kid in its mother's milk. That's the rabbis added on a fence around the Torah. The rabbis are given asusiyag la Torah, to make a fence around the Torah, to protect the Torah, to protect the integrity of the Torah. And therefore, they expanded the prohibition to include these other categories of meat as well. There's a beautiful story of this woman that came to the Judaica store, and she wanted to buy a siddur with a lot of commentaries. So the guy behind the counter, the guy helping her, figuring, the old nice Jewish lady, she's not buying a siddur with all these little, the siddur with all the commentaries on the side and little letters, probably for her husband as a gift. She says, "Oh, is your husband's birthday coming up?" She says, "No, my husband passed away many years ago." So maybe you have a son that's getting married, a son-in-law, someone's birth. She said, "I have no children." She says, "No children." Like, who are you buying this siddur? I can give you a nice siddur, like big letters. I fill the page with nice, nice font. Why do you want the siddur with all the commentaries? So the way it is in the commentaries, like you have the text in the middle, right? And all around, you have the commentaries all around. So she says to, like a Gemara would look like. So she says to the guy in the bookstore, "I already learned from I'm an old woman. A lot of years of experience with these prayer books. You start praying, and the edge of the paper gets bent, and it gets torn, and something spills, and it starts curling at the edges. If I buy a book that the text of the siddur, of the prayers, fills the whole page, in 2 years from now, I'm going to come back for a new book. But if I buy something that comes around, the middle of the page where the text that I want will stay good for many years." You understand? So that's the same idea of the rabbis making a fence around the Torah. That by the rabbi saying, don't cook chicken with milk, or don't cook deer with milk, same category. They're both not behemoth. They're both not a domesticated animal. This protects the integrity of the prohibition of the Bible of meat and milk. In addition, besides for this, wow, huh? I don't know if it's good or bad you're coming to this class, right? That's why people that become about children don't sound rabbis. You're so lenient. It's so like the more you learn, the more you understand what's required, what's, anyway. It's good. It's good to know. It's good to understand like what's. In addition, the Torah tells us this verse, this prohibition, also the other way around. Sometimes when you know things that people never even think of that are forbidden. They don't even think of it. That people don't realize are also forbidden, even though people don't realize that it's okay. Torah says 3 times not to cook a goat or a kid rather in its mother's milk. Why does it say it 3 times? 3 different times in the Torah, it's in the same verse. So the Shulchan Aruch tells us this is number 3 in the key text from Rabbi Yosef Cairo from the Shulchan Aruch. That when it says 3 times, each one is teaching us something different. One verse prohibits cooking meat and milk together. One verse prohibits eating meat and milk together. And the third verse prohibits getting any benefit from the mixture of the two. So the term cooking in the context of eating implies that the biblical prohibition applies only to mixtures cooked together. However, the rabbis extended the prohibition to include all forms of meat and milk mixtures. 2 things over here. 2 more very important ideas. Number 1, from the Shulchan Aruch we see, not only are you not allowed to cook, not only are you not allowed to eat meat and milk, you're not even allowed to cook meat and milk. Not only are you not allowed to cook meat and milk, you're not even allowed to sell it for business. You're not allowed to make a non-Jewish friend of yours or a non-Jewish neighbor or to work in Domino's and to put pepperoni onto pizza is forbidden. Over where?
It is permitted to cook the meat of a kosher animal and milk of a non-kosher animal.
Biblically.
Right.
Biblically. Oh. Sorry. Okay, pepperoni is that pork or is that regular meat? Okay, so regular meat. Now, very good. If you're paying attention, so you'll know that when the Torah said not to cook or eat or get benefit from meat and milk, well, how does the Torah define meat and milk? A kosher animal with milk. However, so what happens if you're cooking milk with a non-kosher animal or a non-domesticated animal? Biblically, it's fine. And therefore, the rabbis who wanted to make the prohibitions, they added with chicken, with the other things. Oh, 1 second. Make sure about the non-kosher animal. However, it's right here. Here's a text. Read text number 2. However, even without cooking, the rabbinic law prohibits eating these mixtures. The rabbis also extended this prohibition. I have to go back in a second. The rabbis also extended this prohibition to include eating mixture of fowl, like chicken and milk, or non-domesticated animal meat, like deer and dairy. These rabbinic measures are designed to prevent any possibility of violating the biblical prohibition of basar v'chalav. These rabbinic enactments are just as binding as biblical restrictions. Meaning, even though you're right that cooking chicken and milk is only rabbinic, pork is the same thing. Chicken, pork, and deer are the 3 categories of non-behema meat. Okay, so let me just clarify something. It's in the text over here also. Rabbi Akiva in the Mishnah, the end of page 52. If you look in the bottom paragraph of page 52, it's just an additional reading. But look at the last paragraph. It quotes from Rabbi Akiva in the Mishnah, who says that the fact that there's 3 times that the Torah says cooking a behema using the same word, a domesticated animal, is excluding 3 kinds of animals. What are the 3 kinds of animals being excluded? Non-domesticated animals like a deer, poultry, and non-kosher animals like pork. So all 3 are included in the rabbinic prohibition. Understand? So there will be differences. If your life's in danger, if it's if I have a mistake, etc., there's different differences. However, let's just clarify, number 1, that just like you're not allowed to eat it, you're not allowed to cook it, you're not allowed to get any benefit, not only from selling meat, meat burger and cheese, You can't sell a chicken burger and cheese either. Got it? Because once you start selling cheese and chicken, the moment that you might start saying, "Oh, you're allowed to cook for a non-Jew cheese and milk and cheese and meat," it's just you can eat it. So in order to prevent someone from thinking that you're allowed to cook for a non-Jew meat and milk, the rabbi said you can't even cook chicken and milk. So you cannot be a cook in a non-kosher restaurant making meat and milk. You can make non-kosher meat, and you can make non-kosher milk. You just can't cook the two of them together. Correct. You can make a burger. So you're allowed to work in McDonald's. No, I don't know, they make cheeseburgers too. You're allowed to work in, I don't know, whatever. You're allowed to, they all do cheese. Yeah. Yeah, and Domino, unless you don't do the pepperoni. Correct. You can peel the potatoes, and you just can't mix the meat and the milk together. That's all you can't do. Now, in addition, so that's one thing from the Shulchan Aruch. The second thing from the Shulchan Aruch is that the prohibition of eating it is only when they are mixed together, when they're cooked together, sorry. Right? That's what I said in the last paragraph. I went ahead because I was talking about the rabbis preventing any mess up. But I just lost my place. But the Torah says, I just lost where I was. If you look at the halacha 3 in the key text, go back to number 3 on page 51. That besides the prohibition of cooking and of getting benefit, the term cooking in the context of eating implies that the biblical prohibition applies only to mixtures cooked together. However, the rabbis extended the prohibition to include all forms of meat and milk mixtures. Meaning, biblically, if you took a cold salami sandwich and put a slice of cheese on top, biblically, you have not cooked meat and milk together. Biblically. Obviously, so the rabbis extended it. Not only they extend the prohibition to fowl and all that, they also extend the prohibition to even eating it without the cooking.
But I thought it said it 3 times because you can't eat it. You can't cook.
Correct. But the cooking, when it says cooking for eating, how do we learn you can't eat it? Does it say in the Torah you cannot eat it? Or does the Torah say, let me explain.
3 times.
I understand. Listen, I understand your question. But the third time, let's say time number 3 is telling us you can't eat meat and milk together. The Torah could have just said, don't eat meat of a young kid in his mother's milk. Could have said that, right? But it didn't. What did it say? Don't cook it. And we understand the word cooking means eating. But the fact that we're using the word cooking to tell me the prohibition of eating means that what kind of eating is the Torah explicitly forbidding? Cooked mixtures of meat and milk. It's the rabbis that said that even though the Torah used the word cooking to tell us the law of eating, nevertheless, even if they weren't cooked together, even if it's a cold piece of cheese and a cold piece of salami, it's still forbidden. I don't think that giving a non-Jew a cold salami and cheese sandwich though would be forbidden, because that'll be rabbinic and rabbinic on top of rabbinic. So the fact that cold meat and cold cheese are forbidden is rabbinic. The fact that you can't serve chicken, whatever, 2 would be 2. Salami would be 1, but turkey would be 2. So I think that would be whatever. Understand? Now, my friends, I want to finish this chapter. What? No, you shouldn't. Rabbinically, it's forbidden. It's a sin to eat it. Let me clarify. No, you shouldn't. When the rabbis say something is forbidden, that carries the weight of Torah. This is very important to clarify. There are things you shouldn't do because that's the Jewish way of doing it. Like you shouldn't eat an egg without checking it. But that's not a rabbinic prohibition today because of the reasons of non-fertilized eggs and all that. When the rabbis say chicken and milk is forbidden, that enactment of the rabbis has now become binding as if the Torah said it. One of the 613 commandments of the Torah is to listen to the words of the rabbis. And that's why, for example, Hanukkah is coming up in a few weeks. And we're going to light the Hanukkah candles. And what blessing are we going to make before we light the Hanukkah candles? What are we going to say? Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav. You know what that means? What does that mean? Blessed are you, Lord our God, who sanctified us with his commandments. Vitzivanu, you commanded us. Lahadlik ner Chanukah. You commanded us to light the light of the candle of Hanukkah. I ask you a simple question. Where in the Bible does it say to light a menorah? It didn't happen in the times of the Jews in the desert. Hanukkah only happened, 1,000 years later. It's from the rabbis to light the menorah. So how could you make a blessing? Asher kiddishanu b'mitzvos avitzivanu. You commanded us. God didn't command us. The rabbis told us. So why do we make a blessing with God's name that you commanded us to light the menorah? Because when the rabbis tell us to do something, that is a fulfillment of a mitzvah. One of the 613 commandments in the Torah is to listen to the words of the rabbis. Kechol HaTorah Asher Yerucha. It's a verse in the Torah that says that you will do whatever they will tell you in the future tense. It doesn't say Kechol HaTorah that they did show you in the past. It says according to the Torah Asher Yorucha in the future tense that they will show you. And therefore, the Rambam actually writes that when you make the blessing on the candles or on Shabbat candles Friday night, which is also not in the Torah, there's no mitzvah in the Torah to light Shabbos candles, no verse. Deuteronomy 32:15, I don't know, it doesn't exist. There's no verse like that. You make the blessing, you say, Asher Kiddushan b'mitzvos. You commanded us with your commandments, which includes the mitzvah of listening to the rabbis. Vitzivanu, when the rabbis commanded us to light the lights of the Shabbos candles, the light of the menorah, etc., etc. Understand? Okay.
You know, I also thought about the fact that like it's just for women, not for them.
Mikvah's in the Torah.
But,
Mikvah?
yeah, but I mean like,
That's for a woman.
but challah.
Challah is in the Torah. Of course it's in the Torah. Challah is an absolute mitzvah. It's in Parshas Pinchas, I think. I think it's in Parshas Pinchas. I may be wrong, but if you gave me a chumash in 45 seconds, I'll find it for you. I think it's Parshas Pinchas. After class, I'll show you the verse. I'll show you black and white in the Torah, which is a separate challah. But that's in the Bible.
Because we do today when you make
Yeah, you make a bracha. That's not a rabbinic mitzvah. That's clear in the Torah. Clear in the Torah. Okay. So now, my friends, now that you know that you can't, you guys have time for one more concept? Or should we leave this for next week?
No.
Cooking. More? You want more? Okay, more it is. Let's go. So now that we know that cooking meat and milk is forbidden, even if you don't plan on eating it, this introduces us to the issue of cooking milk in the meat pot or meat in the milk pot. Because if you're going to cook meat in the milk pot, you are cooking meat and milk because the pot has absorbed the flavor of milk of the meat, and now you're cooking the milk in there. So you're now cooking meat and milk. There you go. That right there. You haven't eaten anything. The fact that you're cooking them together, you've already done the prohibition of the Torah, not of the rabbis. Can you understand? In some ways, the cooking in a non-kosher pot is in a way more biblically severe. But not all cooking in kosher pots, because we'll say, give me a second, you'll see there's a difference. So, therefore, there's a biblical prohibition of cooking meat and milk together, even if you don't intend to eat it. So, what happened? I'm reading text number 4 now on page 55. If a pot was used to cook meat within the past 24 hours, cooking milk in that pot, even if it has been cleaned, because obviously if the pot is dirty, that's not even a question. If the pot wasn't washed in between use, there's the residue of the milk, etc., or the meat that's 100% guaranteed cooking meat and milk together. But even where the pot was cleaned, there's a biblical prohibition against cooking basar, chalav, meat and milk together. This is because when meat is cooked, its flavor becomes absorbed into the walls of the pot, and it remains potent for 24 hours. During this time, the pot is referred to as Ben Yomo. What does Yom mean? Day. So, Ben Yomo means a son of the day, meaning it's within its day. And the day here doesn't mean, till midnight. It means a 24-hour period from when the food came out of the pot. So if you cooked it at 8 o'clock in the morning, but you left the stuff there till 10 o'clock, and then you took it out at 10, then the 24 hours starts from when the pot was clean. I know it was clean at 10 o'clock till 10 o'clock the next day. If milk is cooked in this pot within those 24 hours, the heat will release absorbed meat flavor, causing it to mix and cook with milk. It's important to note that cooking there in the meat pot remains forbidden even after 24 hours. We'll discuss in chapter 6. However, the biblical prohibition I just said to you a second ago, that cooking in a non-kosher pot could be worse than just the chicken and milk, but that's only if it's a pot within 24 hours. If the pot hasn't been used within 24 hours, the flavor within the pot is now no longer considered a good flavor. It's a stale flavor. It's called pogum. It's not good anymore. So the flavor within the pot is still rabbinically forbidden to protect you from cooking within 24 hours, but not because the actual flavor coming out of the pot that was used last week for meat is going to actually give a meat flavor into the milk that you're cooking in your pot. Now, did you get that? No.
If you take a pot, and you put meat in it,
Let me explain it again and see if you still have a question. I'm going to explain it again. Let's do meat. You took meat and you cooked it in the pot. Okay? And that, you made challah. You cooked the shmak of challah. And it sat and cooked from Friday till Shabbos afternoon. Beautiful. You ate it Shabbos afternoon. You made sure to finish with enough time to eat dairy pizza after whatever. Then Saturday night, you cleaned the pot. You ate your challah at 12. And after Shabbos, you wash the pot. It's all clean. And now you go and you put milk in there for a hot cocoa. You want a midnight snack of hot cocoa. So you go and put milk into this pot.
right after you clean it?
6 hours, make a difference how many hours. It's within 24 hours from when you took any meat. I mean, it had to be clean because if the meat was still sitting there, it doesn't mean anything. So yeah, from when you cleaned it, 6 hours later, doesn't make a difference. If as long as that 24 hours haven't passed, the meat flavor of that cholent is still there. And therefore, the cooking itself, you haven't touched it, you haven't drank it. The fact that you turned on the fire and you had milk cooking in a pot flavored with meat is the biblical prohibition of cooking meat and milk together. That's it.
But if you wait some-
After 24 hours, the flavor of meat in that pot is now no longer a good flavor. It's stale. In Hebrew, it's called pogum. We're going to get to that word later on, but you can already have it in your head now. It's pogum. It's not a good flavor anymore. It's a week old. Week old flavor is not fresh. It's not a good flavor. So biblically, that's not considered cooking meat and milk together. Rabbinically, it's forbidden, because if people are going to start cooking milk in meat pots after 24 hours, what will happen? Someone will make a mistake, someone will forget, or they won't realize, and they're going to cook within 24 hours. You didn't know that Steve cooked something 2 hours ago. You thought you used it last week. You didn't, So therefore, we don't ever cook milk in a meat pot or meat in the milk pot. But that once the 24 hours has passed, is no longer a biblical act of cooking meat and milk together. It's a rabbinic fence to prevent you from coming to cook meat and milk together. Got it?
On Monday, it's a cold night, I'm freezing, I only have one pot. I could take that pot after it's been cleaned and not used for 24 hours, and I could make.
You could kosher it? No. Rabbinically, it's forbidden. Rabbinically, it's forbidden. And if you cooked milk in there, you have to throw the milk into the garbage and you have to kasher your pot because you violated a rabbinic prohibition. Again, this is not a custom. It's not chucking eggs. This is a rabbinic prohibition. And so the prohibition of cooking milk in a meat pot, even a year later, after a year is another discussion. But let's say for sure a month later, is a rabbinic, it's a violation, it's a sin. You're violating the words of the Torah. The Torah said to follow the words of the rabbis. You're not allowed to do it. But you're going to see when we come to the laws of koshering pots and pans, this distinction of what's biblically forbidden, what's rabbinically forbidden, it's going to have a huge difference when it comes to koshering. When it comes to cooking or eating, it's all the same. They're all equally forbidden. But we're going to one day learn how to kosher a pot. When could you kosher a pot? Only when its forbidden status is not biblical. As long as a pot is biblically forbidden, you can't kosher it. You cannot kosher a pot that was used within 24 hours because it's still biblically carrying the flavor. Rabbinically, there's a way to kosher a pot only when the whole prohibition is only rabbinic. You guys got it? We're not getting to the laws of koshering now, but just this concept is a very important cornerstone in many of the laws of kosher. Knowing when was the spoon used, when was the pot used, and something got mixed together. So a lot of differences if it was used within 24 hours or it hadn't been used in more than 24, clean in more than 24 hours. Okay?
That's why it's better to just have separate clean.
Of course you have separate cans. When someone makes a mistake, someone mixed the two, whatever, yeah.
I was just learning all this. I would be confused and think, okay, I could use a pot, wait 3 days and use it again. So
I just said, we just read clearly. The end of rule number 4 says clearly it's still rabbinically forbidden.
I know. It wasn't until I think you said something that you're like,
Well, I asked the question before because I knew people have questions about it. It is something to do. The answer is no.
So thank you for asking the question and thank you for helping me clarify.
if somebody's listening to these, you need to make it clear why you're stating it, that it's not acceptable. Because if somebody's listening to this, they might.
Let me repeat. The rabbis, it's a violation, it's a sin, it's 100% forbidden with no wiggle room. There's no leniency. I said already before, and I'll say it again. When the rabbi says something is forbidden, that carries the weight of Torah. It's a sin of the Torah to mix chicken and milk, or to use a dairy pot that was used a week ago and cook meat inside it. It's 100% forbidden. But if you want to know halacha, you have to also understand that there's a huge difference between a pot that was used today and the pot that was used 2 days ago. There's a big difference. And it's going to be very important to know that distinction to understand how kashering works, which we're going to get to in a later class. But I'm saying this is... So let me say one more thing. If this would be like a crash... So, Marsha, if this would be like a crash course, like how to keep kosher in 2 weeks, then I wouldn't even say this. But yeah, this is like an in-depth, we're learning properly. We're understanding how it works.
Well, like if this was a class where somebody converted, it would.
They gotta stick around to the end.
You guys take on. No, hopefully, thanks to your questions, hopefully it's very clear that there's no wiggle room. I'm not saying that it's allowed. We're just explaining the difference between what's biblical.
On the record, clearly, everybody knows.
Got it.
Even when I learned this in just over years, even when I continue to it's like it's still very hard to understand. It's not simple concept, but even then. That's why the most simple thing to ever do to get past all of this, have separate hands, have separate pots.
Yeah.
It's
You
not-
have to have separate pots. You can't. No, you have. No, someone told me. Yeah.
See, that's the whole point. It's not simple that you have to have different.
Exactly. So like.
No, you just said it's simpler just to have separate pots. It's
Oh,
not
yeah, yeah.
simpler.
Correct. It's not simpler.
In real life,
It's forbidden to use the same pots.
for 3 days, you could kasher.
No, you
Yeah,
can't.
you could kasher it. By the way, just for the record, Marsha, just to push back, I want you to know that until recently, many religious Jews only had one set of pots and pans, and they would kasher back and forth. Just so you know, for the record, the reason why Chabad we don't need dairy on Pesach is because they used to kasher. We don't want to kasher on Pesach. But many people didn't cook that much. They didn't cook that much milk, whatever. They didn't have 2 sets of dishes. Obviously, it's better to have 2 sets of dishes, but there's no verse in the Torah that says you have to have 2 sets of dishes. So to be authentic to halacha, you have to be authentic to halacha, and just realize that it's not only simpler. Today, you need to have 2 sets of dishes to avoid the problems. It's not expensive to have 2 sets of dishes. But yes, anyway.
But we didn't talk about, you could do it after 3 days, but you have to kasher.
We didn't talk about kashering yet.
No, but
We're not done. We're not done yet. We are going to spend a few more weeks talking about meat and milk. Okay? We're not done yet. Got it. Hopefully it's clear. So if you look on page 56, you see a little chart describing this. That which is biblically forbidden, which is the ben yomo, and then cooking in the dairy non-ben yomo. For Marsha's sake, if you look on that image on page day number 2, where it says that even though it's not a biblical prohibition, cooking in a non-ben yomo pot is something which the sages prohibited and is not allowed to be done. Okay. 2 more things about basar v'chalav. You're not going to get any benefit from it, so you cannot serve your animal meat and milk mixed together. So I don't know if animal food has meat and milk in it, but if it did, you wouldn't be allowed to serve it to your animal because you're getting pleasure and benefit from that. Yeah, you got to check, make sure. I don't know that they put milk into like cat food or whatever, but like I don't know if they do. But you have to check. I don't have any pets, but if you do, you got whatever. Just be aware. Or even if you have somehow you mix, if you were cooking and you mix meat and milk together, it's like I'll feed it to my dog, because I'm not going to eat it. You're not allowed to do that, because then not only are you doing the sin of cooking meat and milk, now you're getting a sin of benefit from the milk and the meat and the milk. You have to throw it in the garbage. You can't even feed it to your dog. No, because the bloody egg is only rabbinic to begin with. It's only, and today they're not even fertilized anyway. But the prohibition is okay. And no, anyway, not. You're allowed to feed your animal non-kosher meat. You're allowed to feed your animal bloody meat. You're allowed to feed your animal blood. You can feed your animal blood. The only thing that because you're allowed to get benefit from blood. If you go to a kosher meat processing plant, they're selling the blood of the animals to candy factories or to whatever. They're selling it. Yeah, they collect it. In Iowa, in AgriStar, they actually have two different drain systems. In the room where they shecht the animals, they have two different drainage systems. During the day, when they're slaughtering the animals, there's tons of blood, tons. So there's drains in the floor that the blood collects. All that blood gets collected in some underground vat or whatever, and they sell that blood that comes from the animal slaughtered. At the end of the day, because every day they got to pressure clean the entire place and they clean the, it has to be spotless. Everyone's in inspection. At the end of the day, they finish slaughtering at whatever time, 3 o'clock, they finish slaughtering. They close that drain. They open another drain, which is a sewage drain, and then they pressure clean, they hose down the entire room, and that gets washed into the sewer. But the blood of the time of the slaughtering, which is real blood, they sell it. Yeah. Yeah, whatever kind, if it dies, whatever. I think it's at the candy company. It's used. It's a coloring agent. It's used. It's probably has a flavor also. I've never tasted it, but but I'm telling you, yes, they sell. You think, Marsha, they sell. Yes, they sell every single part of the animal, everything. They sell the hooves, they sell the skulls, they sell everything, the skins, everything. I mean, skins, obviously, they sell it all. Okay.
I did it. It's not a pretty side. It's not a pretty side.
I don't eat like that anyway.
I had a friend when she was studying to be a chef, and he was studying to do it, and he's like, "Hey, guys, we should do it."
Okay. One detail, which I was looking before. You are allowed to get benefit from a mixture of pork and cheese, or chicken and cheese. You're not allowed to cook it together because of the Maris Ayin issue still applies. But if, let's say, you own, well, the problem, the no kosher meat. So yes, because if there's no issue of Maris Ayin, you don't get Maris Ayin from the non-Jew getting pleasure from your chicken or whatever. So in that case, you're allowed to have pleasure. No, because you're cooking it. The cooking you're not allowed to do. Only allowing a non-Jew or whatever, getting benefit from it, owning share in McDonald's or whatever, it's okay because there's no Maris Ayin issue there. But for you to be the one to go and to the act of cooking, you're not allowed to take a piece of cheese and put on top of a piece of non-kosher meat because it looks like you're allowed to put meat and milk together. Even though it happens to be the meat you're putting it on is a pig instead of a cow. Okay? Anyway. And this, my friends, is the words milchiks, fleishiks, and parv. Right? Fleishiks is Yiddish for meat. Milchiks is Yiddish for dairy. And parv is neutral. Fish, vegetables, stuff that can go either or. And if you go into many kosher kitchens, where you have to have your separate dishes and everything is separated, you'll see like red stickers on the pots or on the cabinet. This drawer has like a red for meat, and typically blue is for milchiks, and green is for parv. So if it's really a really good kitchen, you don't have 2 sets of dishes. If you go to many Orbi kitchens, there's 3 sets of dishes actually. They have like for fish, it'll be its own section. They don't mix not with meat or milk. So it'll be a fish section. They'll be say fish, which means it has to remain completely dedicated parv, can't have not meat or milk. So you have fleishiks is red, milchiks is blue, and parv is green. Okay, my friends, we're going to stop over there. Oh, the test. Okay, this is, hold on. Then there's also the test on chapter 3. Do the test on chapter 3, the chapter 3 assessment. Let's end with one spiritual idea. The mixing meat and milk from a spiritual perspective. What does meat represent spiritually? Gvura, that's right. Very good. Meat is red, it's hot, it's gvura. And what is milk? chesed, kindness. Sometimes the two don't mix. You can eat them. You need to have chesed, you need to have gvura. You can't mix the two into a cholent. You have to know when to be chesed and when to be gevura, when to be kind, when to be disciplined and focused, etc. Anyway, ladder to my friends. God willing, next week we will continue the conversation on meat and milk. So don't go away. There's still more to learn. God willing. Laila Tov. Hope you all enjoy. Okay, now I'll test you guys on your test.